Shalom. So we're explaining the Sfirot HaNe'elamot, the hidden Sfirot. So we explained that Chachma, which is wisdom, is very hidden, and inside of it, like all spheres have all the other spheres inside of it. So inside of Chachma, wisdom, we also have all the other Sfirot, and those are hidden Sfirot because it's inside of Chachma, inside of this wisdom, and you can't comprehend them until they come out and are revealed. And then we have the revealed Sfirot, which are the Sfirot afterwards that come out from the Chachma. You have then Bina, you have understanding, Chesed, kindness, Gvura, strength. All these are after the Chachma, coming out from it, and therefore they're Sfirot that you can understand them. Okay? And also the Sfirot in Chachma, they don't even have a name because they're so hidden and high that you can't comprehend them. They don't even have a name. And later on in the Zohar, we're going to explain this some more. So the Sfirot that are revealed, that they came out of the being included in the mind of the wisdom of the Chachma, and they're revealed from it and come down, and that's Bina, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod Yesod, all the other, and Malchus, all the other Sfirot, and they're given names for in order to explain what they are, like sort of like a loan, but not as like you're lending them a name, but you're not actually defining them completely. Now we have kinuim. We're getting into kinuim means like nicknames. So kinuim, which means nicknames, it's the how you describe the names, the titles that you define, that you give to the Sfirot, and they come out of the Sfirot. And through these nicknames. So that's how the Sfirot are actually working and doing action and doing change, and are revealed, and they're how they affect the world. Okay, so the Sfirot are actually like these high spiritual things, which you kind of give them a name to try to describe it, right? But it's not really describing their essence. So what you have, then you have nicknames for the Sfirot. So let's say you're talking about the Sphira of Tiferet, right? Tiferet means beauty, it means compassion. Two actually very different descriptions for the same Sphira. So these are like the kinuim, they're the nicknames. And then when you have in this world, you have this feeling of compassion or of beauty, this is basically how the Sphira is revealed in this world, and you can see beauty. So you're basically seeing a little bit of the light coming down from the sphere of Tiferet. Same with Netzach, right? Which would be victory, would be eternity. So that idea, that concept, or that feeling, whatever it is in this world, is based on just being a part of the light that filters down from this sphere. Okay, so that's the kinuim, that's the nicknames, and that's how we describe it. We have to describe it by things that we feel in this world, right? And that's more how it relates to us. But the essence of it is really something very spiritual and high. It's just a very spiritual world that you can't actually even really describe. So then we have Merkava, which means like a chariot, or like a chair or a seat. It's something that the sphera above, let's say, you have a sphera, sits on it. So like Yesod would be sitting on Malchut, or all of these six sphirot, the Chesed would be like sitting on it, or would be like a chariot. So that's a Merkava. So whatever attribute or sphere that's, or a letter, let's say you have the letters are, let's say you have a letter of Yud, right? Or a letter of Aleph. So that's like sitting on a sphere, right? Why is it sitting on a sphere? Because the letter is higher than a sphere. Okay? So you can say that the spheres of Chachma, Bina, Tiferet, and Malchut, so these are seats for the letters of God's name Yud He Vav He. So the Chachma is a chariot or a seat, or it's the letter of Yud, the 10th letter of the alphabet, which is the letter Yud, is like sitting and resting on the Chachma. Okay, and the Chachma is holding it up. Same with Hey, would be Bina, would be understanding. It's like a chariot or a seat. It's the letter Hey is resting on it, because it's actually like the soul. We said that the letters are like the soul of the Sefirot. So that's what it means being a chariot. It's like the body and the soul. The body is like a chariot or a seat for the soul, to be in it. Okay, so the kinuim, that means the nicknames, they're like a chariot to the Sefirot. So you have the Sefira, and then the name is Gvura. Let's say the sphere of Gvura. So you can't actually describe completely the sphere of Gvura. It's very hard to explain it. You give it a name, strength, right? And the sphere like rests on its name, sits on its name. The name holds it up. Okay? So then we have Samchin. Samchin, which means holding up, something that you rest on. Retichin is also a name in Aramaic. And these are similar, like we just said. These are the chariots. It's just like we said, a chariot. We explained that it's the same thing. It's just another word for it. But they're sometimes called Retichin. They're sometimes called Samchin in the Zohar. And what does it mean? That we use the word samchin, like a resting, like a support. We use that when we're talking about the sefirot, like the six sefirot of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. These six sefirot of the small face of Zeir Anpin, they are resting on the mind of Bina. So we can have, like in this scenario where these are resting on Bina, so we call it a samchin. We call it, it's like a chariot, but we call it's like it's resting on it. It's leaning on it. It's being supported by the Bina, by the mind of Bina. Okay, so sometimes instead of calling it a chariot or a samchin, like a support, sometimes it's called hechalot. Hechalot means like a room, or like a palace, like a big banquet room, right? That's a hechal. So hechal is basically, again, the same thing as a merkava, a chariot, or a support, a chair. However, it's the same idea, but usually how it's used, we use hechal. We use the word like a big hall, a big room, a big house, kind of a big palace. So when's it used? It's used when we talk about the two female sfirot, which is Malchut. Malchut is kingdom, and Bina is understanding. These two are the female sfirot, and they're called the Hechalot. Instead of calling them the chariot or the retichin, or the thing that's leaned on, they're called the room, right? But it's the same meaning. It's just a different word, and it's used usually to describe the female spirit when they are the chariot. And so these two are the room, or the house, or the palace, which is like a resting place for Abba and Zeranpin. Zeranpin is a small face, and Chachma is Abba, is like the father. Zeranpin is a small face. This is these 6 sfirot of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yisod. So then we have Klipa. So Klipa means a peel, like a shell. So when you have an orange, protecting the orange, you have the peel. That's the outermost part of the orange. Inside you have the fruit, outside you have the peel. So what does it mean? That's how we define and explain. That's the name that we give. And it also is the same thing that we talked about: a chariot, a support, a room, right? Like a room surrounds the people inside of it. It supports them. A merkava, a chariot, it supports the people, right? So a peel of a fruit also supports and protects the fruit. But it's the fruit basically like rests on the peel. It's like relying on it to protect it, right? So so anything that's the lowest attribute, like the lowest sphera of all the other sphirot, that's called the klipa. Like the best example to say would be like an onion. So the sphirot are sometimes described as being like an onion, where from the inside out, right? So the most outside sphera would be the peel of the onion, and that would be the malchut, the kingdom. And the other spheres are one inside each other. So that's how you describe a klipa, a peel. But what's the difference between klipa and what we said about like a chariot or a heichal, like a room or a chariot or a chair or resting support? The klipa is different, that you only call something a klipa, a peel, if it's in the same category. That means the malchut would be a klipa to the other sphirot above it, right? It would be a peel to the other sphirot above it, but it won't be a peel to the names of the sphirot, because the names of the sphirot are a different category. The nicknames, which is the kinuim, they're a category below the sphirot. So they're way below malchut, because it's a completely different class, a different category. So a klipa is only supporting the other things in the same class, the other sphirot, but it won't be supporting the names of the sphirot, right? Whereas you can have the kinuim, the names are all supporting they're all resting places, or supporting or helping all the sphirot above them, right? But even though they're not the same class, like the sphirot can be a resting place for the letters. There's another class, but there's a resting place for it. There's support for it, right? But to be a shell, it has to be in the same class, and it has to be the lowest one. So that would be like an onion. It's like the same material, It's just the most outside one. That's what's the one that's protecting the inside ones. That's considered the klipa, the peel. Okay? So we finished here. This is the explanation of some of what these words mean, right? And we're going to be learning more in the Zohar. So you have to understand the definitions first. And next time we'll be starting the next chapter of the Zohar.